Wow.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our free webinar, From the Global Frontline, TCM in Historic Pandemics and Lessons Today, featuring Dr. Guangxi Li. My name is Jeff Bloom, Education Marketing Manager here at Lhasa OMS. Today is a real pleasure because we are joined by our co-sponsor, Tianjiang, Treasure of the East, the newest herb line to be added at Lhasa OMS. For over 40 years, Lhasa OMS has been striving to promote the growth of the acupuncture industry by providing quality products, great services, and the best customer service, as well as supporting the many schools and continuing education efforts available. With our free webinar series, we intend to provide free educational opportunities taught by some of our industry's most renowned practitioners and educators. I would like to take a moment to acclimate you to the webinar room. We recommend viewing the webinar in Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, as you can experience slowness in other browsers. To the right of the video screen, you will see 3 tabs: Chat, Questions, and Polls. To chat with other attendees or to communicate any technical difficulties, please use the Chat tab. For questions of the guest speaker, please make sure to use the Questions tab to assure that we see them during the questions and answers, which will be done at the end of the lecture. And then please note that each webinar is recorded, and immediately following the conclusion, you will receive an email with a link to view the video on demand. You'll also get a copy of the slideshow in that same email. You may always visit our blog and use the free webinar tag to find all of our previously recorded events. From sports acupuncture to Chinese herbs to practice management, you will find something interesting for every practitioner on the Lhasa OMS blog. I would also like to mention a few new great features at Lhasa OMS. We just launched our new Lhasa Direct Dispensary program to allow practitioners to recommend products to patients and receive a commission on those purchases. We will share a link in the chat to our blog where you can learn more on how to access this program using your Lhasa OMS account. We also now have the ability to receive text alerts about inventory updates and other important information. All you need to do is text the word SUPPLY, S-U-P-P-L-Y, to the number 855-358-3253, and we'll put that number into the chat as well. I will now hand it over to Teresa Williams, Vice President for Treasure of the East, and she's going to introduce their company and our speaker for today.
Great, thank you so much, Jeff. I'm Teresa Williams, and I'm so honored to be able to represent Tianjiang Treasure of the East. As Jeff said, we're a relatively new addition to Lhasa's lineup, and likely a new name for some people. In fact, we have been serving the TCM community, primarily Chinese-speaking practitioners, for over 26 years now, and we have grown largely by word of mouth. We're founded by our medical advisor, Dr. Ann Wong, who will be joining us later in this webinar. When she started her practice in the US, Dr. Wong was frustrated with the efficacy of the herbs she found here, especially compared to what she was used to in China. So with her patients in mind, she went to China in search of the highest quality herbs available, a search that led her to Tianjiang. Treasure of the East has served as Tianjiang's US distributor ever since then. Our herbs are used by more than 70% of China's AAA level hospitals and over 8,000 hospitals all across Asia. We also have supported the development of the entire TCM field through partnerships in research with 48 TCM universities and hospitals. In the US, we supply Lhasa as well as practitioners and amazing pharmacies like China Herb Company, Yao Clinic, 5 Flavors Herbs, Chinese Herbal Solutions, and 4 Pillars Herbal Dispensary. We offer to everyone our Treasure of the East line of herbs, as well as private labeling services. Most recently, Tianjiang Treasure of the East donated over 1,000 bottles of our Jade Screen double strength formula to frontline hospital workers and to numerous TCM organizations across the country. We even got a shout out in Boston Medical Center's Some Good News broadcast. So to further support our community, we tapped into our incredible network in China and found a fantastic partner in Lhasa to create this amazing opportunity to hear directly from Dr. Guangxi Li today. We are incredibly honored to hear from Dr. Li. He is an internationally recognized pulmonologist and researcher. He was previously honored with the Beijing Advanced Individual Award against SARS and has been invited again as a member of China's national COVID-19 expert group. Dr. Guangxi Li serves as medical director of the Department of Respiratory Medicine at Guang'anmen Hospital and as assistant professor of respiratory health and intensive medicine at the Mayo Clinic. He is joining us tonight from Saudi Arabia, where he is again working on the front lines against the pandemic. And with that, I would please join me in welcoming Dr. Guangxi Li.
Right, we'll see you for questions.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to come here to discuss the pandemic situation, how we treat it using Chinese medicine. So my topic today is TCM in historic pandemic and life for today. Because just as you know, in Chinese history, regarding the pandemic, we have been suffering for many years. So and we accumulated quite a lot of experience against the pandemic in the past several thousand years. So the topic today I would like to cover is according to these several points. The first, I want to introduce a pandemic influenza and the seasonal influenza.
Wait, Dr. Lee, I don't want to interrupt you, but can you speak up a little bit, please? It's very low.
Can you hear me now?
It's much better.
It's maybe I still need to point out my microphone. So this is better?
Yes, much better. All right, I'm gonna leave again. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So because I don't know, I need to speak very closely to the microphone. Okay, so so the first topic I would like to discuss is regarding the pandemic influenza and the seasonal influenza. Second is I'm talking about the new viruses are emerging, according to this COVID-19. And the third part I would like to discuss an excellent anti-epidemic prescription of TCM. And the fourth part I would like to talk a little bit, not so familiar to everyone. It's a very new hotspot. Is about the lower testosterone level and worse condition. So how this correlate to each other. And the last part I would like to say something about how to survive from the COVID-19. So it's very interesting topic, and I would like to discuss tonight with everyone. Maybe your time is afternoon. So here right now I'm in Saudi Arabia to help some Chinese patients. So it's a lot of work here, and I did save a lot of patients here too. So the first one, I want to introduce the pandemic history and Chinese medicine. So regarding the pandemic, actually, it's from 13 BC. That's in the bone script, they already documented some kind of pandemic in the history. And after that, there's one very famous Chinese book. We call that Shanghan Lun. It's from the Zhongjing Zhang. So it's Dr. Zhang Zhongjing. So he's a very famous Chinese doctor. And this why he wrote this very famous book, because in Jian'an 13 years, that's about the in the Han Dynasty, after Han Dynasty, there's quite a lot of the patients dying from this pandemic, and he wrote a book, save a lot of patients. So this is they call that Shanghan Lun. And later on, in the Song Dynasty, again we had a lot of pandemic, and then at that time there's a very famous book. The book name of the book is Prescription of the Bureau of Taiping People's Fair Pharmacy. That was written in Song Dynasty. It's very well-known book in China, and you can find out a lot of formulas in that book. And that the first documentary formula is Ren Shen Bai Du San. So it's a very good. So if you have chance, you really need to read this book and to find out how many historical formula against the pandemic. And in Ming Dynasty, again, that's in about 1580. That's about how many years ago? Let me. That's about 500 years ago. So at that time, there's a very big pandemic in Chinese history. We call that Wanli dynasty. Then a lot of patients die, and the very famous doctor, they use this Baidusan to treat a lot of patients and get cured. And in the Ming Dynasty, another very famous doctor, he wrote the maybe you already know that, is Wen Bing Tiao Bian. So it's the Wen Yi Lun, and they wrote this book because at that time. A lot of patients die not from this kind of influenza. The patients die actually from the Black Death. So that's from the mouse transmission to the human. So that's a different story. So and then the physicians notice that the patients also have some kind of bleeding problem. So then they start to do Wei Qi Ying Xue, the differentiate syndromes. So that's a new system of Chinese medicine, different from different from Shanghan Lun system. So that's how they created this book. And later on, the Qing Dynasty and then a lot of physicians start to use this new system to treat the pandemic. Okay, so and another thing I would like to discuss is about the pandemic influenza in the recent 100 years. So how pandemic influenza appears. So usually a brand new genotype of virus appears. This virus is susceptible to all humans. So everyone is vulnerable. So low levels of antibody to the virus in the whole human population. So everyone don't have any immune for this new influenza. So that happens. There are 4 recorded influenza pandemics in human history in the recent 100 years. The first one is 1918 Spanish flu. Maybe everyone knows. So H2N2 in 1957 and H3N2 in 1968, and H1N1 recurrence in 1967 and 1907. That's we call that Russia flu. So this is from the Siberia. So it's in the Russia actually. So that's how the 4 major flus in the human history in the recent 100 years. So Spanish flu, it's about 50 to 100 million deaths worldwide, and it even stopped the World War II, and first reported by Spain. And 2005, entire genome coding sequence confirm it is a H1N1 subtype. So actually, it's just a new type of the H1N1. So new forms of the influenza. So you can see this new influenza when this came to human body, a lot of patients, you can see this how they build this hospital in the gym and in the convention center, this here, and then later on the pandemic spreads all the world, and it spreads in the pigs and the humans. They become the classic swine flu and seasonal influenza. So from this historical experience, this new flu did not last too long time. After maybe 1 or 2 years, it became a seasonal influenza. So that's the reason we think this COVID-19 also this will slowly change, back to the seasonal influenza. But initially, when this new virus come to the human body, the human usually don't accept this new virus. So the fight between the human virus is very strong. So that's the reason why the people have this cytokine storm and then create the lung injury, ARDS, and so on. So that's all the basic how the patients die and how the patients can survive. So here, the same thing happens. The avian influenza virus and also the Guizhou province is another one. It's also the H3N2. So a lot of the different streams of the influenza came to the human body. So this is the H2N2 in 1957 and the H3N2 in 1968. See this after 11 years, and you can see this how they change over time. So H1N1 recurrence, there's a Spanish flu in 1918, but in 1976 and 1977, it come back to the human again. So that but this disappeared in the second half of 1976. So you can see in the human history, even in the recent 100 years, we saw a lot of different, influenza, new novel influenza virus came to human body and generate a lot of harm to the whole society and whole economy system. So that's how this I don't want to talk too much, but this Russia flu, this is also worldwide well known. So regarding different type of the influenza, so we try to create some kind of the influenza vaccine, but after many years, we didn't succeed on the vaccination. We did that. You can see containing H3N2, H1N1, and Type B influenza. So after we did this kind of make this. Vaccination against this pandemic flu, and then finally we win this war against the pandemic. But in 2009, there's a new pandemic H1N1, initially in Mexico and later on in California, and we call that the swine flu. So it's also very famous. At that time, I think I'm in United States. So we did see a lot of young patients, and they suffered from this normal influenza and died from this swine flu. So this consists of three source reassortment of swine influenza virus in North America and the obvious swine influenza virus in Eurasia. So spread to the world within 5 weeks. This spread, but I think the major difference between this pandemic H1N1 and the COVID-19 is this pandemic is it's a the transmission speed is much lower, and we did not see so many symptomatic patients. We did not see, so not like COVID-19. We saw a lot of patients. They don't have any symptoms. They just asymptomatic. So these patients they carry the virus and spread the virus very quickly. So WHO raised the influenza pandemic level to level 5 on April 25th in 2019, and raised it to the highest level 6 on June 11th. So the number of deaths was lower than seasonal influenza actually. So the severity was similar to 1968 H3N2. So we did not see too much mortality. And another thing in this pandemic, very interestingly, we did not see a lot of male. Men did not suffer a lot, but quite a lot of women get this disease, and the younger women and is a major vulnerable population, and the patients who had the history of asthma died most. So that's we have. I published some paper. I did some research on this one. So I'm pretty familiar with this pandemic in 2009. But this disappeared very quick and did not last too long time. And the avian influenza has been considered unstable to spread to humans because the avian influenza is very dangerous. In China, we did see occasionally some patients they suffer from the H5N1, and we really think it's very severe disease, and this kill a lot of this really kill a lot of the human, and the mortality rate is pretty high. So that's in fact we did a lot of control for that. We kill a lot of live poultry in Hong Kong and in some other areas to to control the spread to the human. So that's how we control this H5N1. Uh, so this H5N1 infection occurred again in Vietnam and Thailand in 2003 with a local mortality rate as high as 80%. Like what I said, it's very dangerous virus. So, because when we talk about this virus, all the clinicians and the virologists, we all really concerned about this new virus, because I think we don't have too much measures can control can treat this disease. Patients suffer from the ARDS and they died very quickly. So as of March 2018, 860 patients worldwide have been infected and 454 have died. So it's a very big disaster. But the problem is this virus did not transmit very quickly. So that's how we can how the human did not worry too much about this H5N1. So the H7N9 is another avian influenza. So it's about 134 people were infected and 45 of them died in 2013 east of China. This is as of April H7N9 avian influenza has caused a total of about 1,500 infections, and including the 614 dies. So it's about 50% dies. Mortality rate is also very severe influenza. So avian influenza is really, really dangerous. So pandemic influenza. So it's usually rarely happens, and people have little immunity because they have no previous exposure to this virus. And healthy people may be at increased risk for serious complications. And healthcare providers and hospitals may be overwhelming because they put a lot of pressure to the human. And the vaccine probably would not be available in the early stage of the pandemic. So effective antiviral drug also is not, is not available. A number of deaths could be high, and symptoms may be more severe, and may cause major impact on the general public, such as widespread travel restriction and school or business closings. That's what has of this pandemic COVID-19, and potential for severe impact on domestic and the world economy. Everyone already see that. So this how the pandemic influenza could affect the human society. So that's what we need is to know the history, and then we can get the history experience and to face this new pandemic of the COVID-19. So seasonal influenza, what's the difference between the pandemic flu and the seasonal flu? So the pandemic flu, like what I discussed just now, so it's a new virus. Usually, it may not exist on the human body. It may only, like in the swine, or in the pig, in some bird, or in some like a bat, like this coronavirus. It really never come to the human body, but the virus always want to find a new host because they want to spread. They want to occupy the whole world. So that's how they want to become, influential. So that's how they want to change their host and not only stay on the animals. So they want to come to the human body. So that's how pandemic forms. So once this new virus came to us, we usually have very strong strong reactions. So we will have fever, we will have inflammation, we even will create a cytokine storm. And the cytokine storm certainly will kill the virus, but at the same time it will kill us too. So that's how the pandemic can kill a lot of people. That's how that works. But after pandemic, some virus will really stay on the human body and became seasonal influenza. So that's how they become seasonal flu. What happens to the seasonal flu? Seasonal flu is like happen annually and usually peaks in January or February. So usually some immunity. So the people usually have some because it circulated in the human society for many years. So the whole human they recognize this virus, so they do have some memory to this virus. So they will not create very strong reaction to this new virus. So the usually only people at high risk, not healthy adults, are at high risk of severe complications. And healthcare providers and hospitals can usually meet the public and the patient need. And the vaccine is available. So like maybe everyone here, you already have this vaccine because like me, so every physicians and health workers, they need to have the vaccine in the seasonal influenza season in flu season. For example, we are obligated to do the vaccine on every year, October to November. So adequate supplies of antiviral drug are usually available, and the seasonal influenza socialized in the United States is over 30 years, ending in 2007, have ranged from about 3,000 per season to about 49,000 per season. That's how many patients died. Symptoms, this is usually limited within a week. So this include fever, cough, running, and muscle pain. That's usually the major symptoms of the seasonal influenza, and usually cause minor impact on the general public. And some schools may close, and sick people are encouraged to stay home. And manageable impact on domestic economy and world economy. So it's not like COVID-19. So why new flu virus appear at intervals? The influenza virus are RNA virus, which do not have the ability to check themselves during the replication process. So they are prone to misalignment and have high chance of mutation. So that's how difficult we create the vaccine against this RNA virus. So that's we are not so optimized. Well, we can make a new vaccination against this COVID-19 within a year. It's really hard. So the main reason is immune pressure of the whole population. So that's how why the new flu virus appear at intervals. If 70% of the people produce antibodies, the virus will mutate. So it only takes 1 to 2 years from discovery until 70% of people have immunity. So like this COVID-19, maybe if we did not control well, they maybe after 1 to 2 years, then the whole human society will have this the herd immunity, like what we always have a lot of controversial on these issues. So the new virus are emerging. So the virologists we always discuss. So what will be the next pandemic? So what will be? So we already know coronavirus. It's a very dangerous virus, and we believe this will be next pandemic. But finally, the COVID-19 did come to the human body, like what we expected. So 2003, I'm in Beijing. So and we treat a lot of patients have this SARS. That's a SARS, coronavirus. So this is different. So SARS usually hit the most younger population. So a lot of patients die. They are pretty healthy. They don't have any baseline conditions. So very dangerous. And the MERS, that's Middle East. That's exactly where I stay. Right now, I'm very close to the sea. So actually, the MERS is originally from the Middle East, across the Red Sea. I think that's how the MERS came from. So that's this virus, this coronavirus, is also have very high mortality rate. They told me it's about 30% to 50%. It's very high. But the SARS is about 10% to 20%. It's not as high as MERS. But everyone knows in 2019, COVID-19, this is a new coronavirus. We call that SARS-CoV coronavirus 2. So that's this new virus. So because after this mutation, finally the coronavirus want to stay with human, and they succeed after several mutations. How they can become adaptable to the human body. The first, they cannot kill us. If they kill us, the virus can be killed, easily. So the second, they should not, stimulate us, generating quite a lot of, cytokine storm like SARS, like MERS. The human cannot, the adaptable to this new virus. But not like a COVID-19. A lot of patients they don't have don't have symptoms. So that means the virus mutation, they can survive on human body. They finally find human as a new host. So now we are adaptable to this new virus, to this new coronavirus. So that's the basic, from the theoretically how the human and the virus they stay together, and how we adjust ourselves to adapt to this new virus. So that's how this happened. So here is the overall of the picture, how this coronavirus, change over time. I don't want to discuss it too much. We can see this SARS-CoV-2 finally find us to be a good host. So the license immunity even defeated the virus, and the vaccine is not panacea. 70% of people need to be vaccinated for herd immunity. 70% of Chinese population exceeds 900 million. So that's why China is very concerned about this new virus. So, and the vaccine's yield is limited, and the vaccine cannot protect everyone. Strategy to do this, to control this pandemic, is reducing the speed of transmission and mortality rate. So how we can, that's a very the biggest issue right now. I believe that, because how the China initially the Wuhan, why the mortality is high. Okay, why in New York is high? Why in Italy, Lombardy is high? Because the speed of transmission is very fast, and suddenly a lot of patients came to the hospital, and they put a lot of pressure to the healthcare, the healthcare system. So then the physicians and the nurses, we don't have health resource to treat the patients. So the patients may stay for fever for many days, and later on this develop acute injury, and they need the ventilator, and we don't have ventilator. So every time, everything is treated late. So that's what happens to the patients, and then the patients will die eventually. So that's the reason how we control this disease is we try to reduce the speed of transmission, and then we can control the mortality rate. So that's the license. See here, that's I think it's I just did that 2 days ago. So the coronavirus cases right now is about 5 million patients, and a lot of patients die from total deaths. Is reach very high numbers. It's about 33,000. It's a lot of patients. No, 330,000 patients die. So it's a lot of patients now dies. So the symptoms of COVID-19 includes several things, though everyone maybe knows. Most patients, they are very mild symptoms and even asymptomatic. So these patients, they do carry the transmission possibilities. So even they don't have any symptoms, but they can be they can spread the virus. So that's very difficult, make it very difficult to control the transmission chain. We not block the transmission chain easily. because we don't know who is infected and who is not. That's a difficulty to control this pandemic. So if you do have symptoms, then the symptom usually have these several things. The first one is fever, second fatigue, and cough, dry coughing, and the some patients they may suffer from the acute lung injury, and then the shortness of breath is also very obvious in some patients. So less common manifestations including stuffy nose, running nose, pharyngia, and diarrhea. But in right now, I mean Saudi Arabia, I saw a lot of patients actually they do have the diarrhea, they do have fever. Some of them they have dry coughing, but most of them in this in here they don't have too much, the fever. Uh, the every city, no, every country may different, clinical uh, manifestations. It's because I think is when the temperature goes high, like here where I stay, the temperature go up to 40, 45 Celsius so in the daytime. So it's very, very high and very, very dry. So it's too hot here. So that's the reason maybe the COVID-19, the patients suffering COVID-19 have very mild symptoms. And you can see, although we saw a lot of patients in Saudi Arabia, but the mortality rate is about 100, 0.5%, 0.5%. That's the mortality rate. It's very, very low. So it's even lower than the seasonal influenza. So that's a different, so how the different region have different symptoms. And about half of patients have dyspnea and hypoxemia after 1 week. So not half. I'm pretty sure it's only about 15%. I'm sorry, maybe I did not read it clearly. So patients who suffer from the dyspnea and hypoxemia is not a lot of patients. 85% patients they only have very mild symptoms. They only have fever, fatigue, and after 1 week they recover and they go back home. So not so severe. So the severe cases, they have dyspnea, hypoxemia, and they progress to ARDS, septic shock, metabolic acidosis, hard to correct, and they cause increased blood viscosity and coagulation dysfunction. So basically, it's a MODS. We call that multi-organ dysfunction syndrome. So they don't only cause the acute lung injury. The hypoxemia can cause a lot of different things. So everyone knows that. Who is the vulnerable population? So we try to figure out who is the most vulnerable population, because not everyone died from the disease. Only maybe about 5 to 10% died. So then you need to identify who is the most vulnerable, and you need to treat them aggressively, and you need to monitor progression of the disease. And the first one, I think that's a male. The man is much higher than women. From the data we have seen, it's about 2.6 times men died compared to the women. So men, if you are men, and you are older, because if the age is more than 60 years old, then you have high chance to develop acute lung injury. And the second is overweight. So if you have your weight, your BMI in more than 28, according to the CDC guideline, if your BMI is more than 30 in United States, then you have high chance to die. But in China, the overweight the standard is a little bit lower than United States, so it's 28. So diabetes, if you have diabetes, you certainly have a problem, and you have some other baseline comorbidities. These are all the put you in the vulnerable situation. Overall, according to Chinese medicine theory. So that means you have some problem of qi deficiency. So if you qi deficiency, then you have a high chance to develop acute lung injury. So here is our data. So we summarize according to 10 provinces in China. So I did this paper. So I did find the overweight in the very severe cases is about 79%. When compared to the mild cases, you can see the overweight is only 32%. So the if you are overweight, you have certainly have high chance to develop a acute lung injury. You become the severe type. So according to the time series, we can see how the patient's clinical presentation. So that's how the patients according to time. So the first initially the patients when they when they got infected, so the virus they will usually have some incubation period. That's from 1 to 14 days. Mostly happens about 3 to 7 days. And fever that's the first week of the symptoms. So the fever period is about 1 week. So this second week. So basically when the patients have symptoms, the first week of the clinical presentation is a fever. So the fever period that's the most important golden window to prevent acute lung injury. So if you reduce the fever with some medicine, and the patient will recover very quickly without developing any complications. However, if you cannot control the fever within the first week and the second week, the patients will get acute lung injury. So this is usually because you delay treatment and the prolonged fever. This triggers the acute lung injury. So, because first week you cannot control the fever, and then the inflammation accumulate, and the second week they start to build the cytokine storm, and this will trigger the acute lung injury. And the third week, the last part is a recovery period. So after you got a acute lung injury and you got the intubation or you got some treatment, respiratory support, and then you did recover, and maybe after 1 month or after 1 year, then you will go back to the baseline. So it depends how aggressive the treatment you got. So if you got the intubation, you need about 1 year. If you got ECMO, then this will put you about 2 or 3 years, you need to come back to baseline. So that's how the whole scenario of the patients. So according to this, so is the best window we do the intervention. So what we do the intervention, the best window is during the home isolation stage. So I think in the United States, most patients, if they do have symptoms, initially they only have not everyone suddenly become acute lung injury. No one like that. Everyone must first get fever, and then they slowly develop acute lung injury. Not initially they got in. So this you must make it clear. So initially everyone they have the fever, they have the like the cold, like any influenza. So this is the best window you prevent the development of acute lung injury. So here, if you have if you are stay at home, you have fever, and you need to monitor your temperature, and you need to monitor your cough frequency. You need to monitor your dyspnea progression. So if you have high temperature, your temperature become higher and higher, and your cough frequency become the higher and higher, and you can even not speak a word. So that's also very big indication for you to go to the emergency room right away. So that means you are in the process developing coronary injury, and you'll start to have the hypoxemia, and then you measure the pulse oximeter. You can see the patient's the SpO2 drop lower than 95%. That's a very bad sign for you to realize the patient need emergent care to support their, the pulmonary functions. So that's how we treat the patients during this window. So after that, the patients, if they go to the emergency room, and they will go to the ICU, and the patient probably will be on the ventilator or on the, the high flow oxygen support. Then the patients can recover all died because some patients they really cannot survive after even after intubation, after ECMO. So the mortality rate is about 5% to 10% according to different countries, healthcare resources and the healthcare flow, how they treat the COVID-19. So it's very interesting. This is another story I will not discuss here, but the mortality rate is really vary a lot across different countries. In China, in Wuhan and the other cities, we had totally different mortality rate because in Wuhan initially we don't have too many physicians, we don't have the healthcare resources to take care of so many patients. So that's a pressure to the healthcare system will become a key role to determine mortality rate of the whole population. So regarding the very early stage, certainly we will do the control transmission. So how we find the patients, we need to find out do the test. So that's how American did and how Chinese did. So you can see the CDC or Chinese CDC, they did a lot of tests, figure out who is the positive and who carries the virus. But the problem is, right now it's another issue coming out. So a lot of patients they only one test cannot say it's a truly negative. Some patients maybe after 4 or 5 repeated tests, they did find patients they got a positive result. So this is quite controversial. So how we figure out who is the origin of the virus, uh, the population. So it's really hard. So we need to figure out who is carrying on the infectionable virus. So that's the most important. After recovery, some patients they may still get a virus, they carry the virus, but the virus it may not be infected. It may not can be infectious to other people. So that's you need to figure out. So regarding the mild patients, how mild they are. So they even don't know they got disease. So a lot of patients, they are like what I said previously, they are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms. Like here, and we noticed that about 70% of patients, they don't have any symptoms. And that's how you control transmission. So you lock down the whole country, and now slowly back to normal. So that's most of the countries measures control the disease, control the mission. Regarding the treatment, certainly we need to leverage patients according to different disease level, and we according to the different the receptors, and we figure out who is most vulnerable, and we pay more attention to them. That's how the whole system works right now in the countries, over the countries. So the fever window, that's that's the first week of the symptoms. So most patients, before they develop a very severe disease, they usually always have fever. So this fever window is the most important window. So the patient have the transmission ability during this time. And right now we don't have any confirmed antiviral drug and no confirmed antibiotic work on these patients. So there are several controversial on how we use the steroids and how we use the NSAIDs medications. Some patients, some physicians and the CDC never recommend any NSAIDs to control this fever. But we do have a lot of experience using Chinese medicine to control fever. This, we did a lot of study and we treated a lot of patients very successfully using Chinese medicine. So what's the medication, what we use? So I think you may also in Chinese guideline, you can see we had different approach to the fever window. So you have the 莲花清瘟 or 清肺排毒 or some other formulas. But what I suggest you to use is 人参败毒. So the 人参败毒 is a ginseng. The major, you can see this formula. The major medication is ginseng. Why we use this? Like this formula, like from the first slide I showed to you. So in Song Dynasty, that book, the Taiping, that book. So in that book, actually, they recommended this formula as the best formula against pandemic influenza. We are not talking about the Black Death. We are not talking about some other, Ebola. We just talk about the influenza. So this formula is very, very useful for this qi deficiency population. Like right now, I think in United States, you can read the summary, you can read the statistics. Who is the most vulnerable population and who died most? These are all the people. They are they have the baseline conditions. They have the qi deficiency. So that's the reason how they died. So regarding medication, what we use the theory is we use ginseng to push the energy, and we push the energy to expel the virus from the sweating. So when you take the NSAIDs, you will have sweating, right? You sweat and then your feel reduce after you take the NSAIDs or you take the paracetamol. So that's what I'm trying to do a proposal at Mayo Clinic. So only we don't want so many. Maybe the ARB cannot approve if we use so many different kinds of herbs. But if you only use like a paracetamol plus ginseng, that will be possible. Because the ginseng, regarding the ginseng, there are different kinds of ginseng, like you already know, American ginseng, Chinese ginseng, Korean ginseng. So the quality is different. Maybe the Korean ginseng is the strongest. Second, the Chinese ginseng, and the American ginseng is because I think the G-cinoside, the major components in ginseng work against the virus and as a ginseng. So the Korean ginseng, they contain I think this because they grow up in Jilin province, in Changbai mountain. So that's how this ginseng can have the best function. The Chinese ginseng, they also have different region ginsengs. Some of them they are same to the Korean ginseng. They grow ginseng in Jilin, in Changbai mountain, and some ginseng they grow ginseng in different other areas. They call that Dangshen or some other, but we don't talk about the Taizishen. That's different. So the Hongshen, Shengsai that's a major Chinese ginseng components. So American ginseng, that's another another category of ginseng. So they usually don't have as good quality as Korean ginseng and Chinese ginseng against this panic. So, but if you don't have any, you can try this. But my suggestion is you still use Chinese ginseng and Korean ginseng to treat the patient. Because ginseng, I think, is a very safe drug, and they can help you to control the fatigue conditions. And after you take this patient, what you need to monitor? You need to monitor the patient's fever. So usually after you take this ginseng formula, the patient's fever usually gone within 1 or 2 days. That how I use this medication. So I use this worldwide. Some patients in United States, some patients in UK, some patients in Italy, some patients in Saudi Arabia. And we did see the same result. Usually after 1 or 2 doses, the patients will have sweating, and then the fever will be gone, and then they will never come back to again. There's no fever rebound, because after if you only take paracetamol or you take the NSAIDs, the fever will come back again after 4 to 6 hours. But here, if you take the formula I recommended, it's really very helpful. And after that, you also need to monitor oxygen saturation with pulse oximeter closely. And you need to monitor the patient's cough and shortness breath, and to see if the patient's condition deteriorated. So you need to watch. So in case the patient died. So I would like to give you some cases. You can see the cases here. The first case is what I use is treat is a persistent fever for this 50-year-old male. He's a marathon runner. He's very healthy actually. He ran marathon for many years. But suddenly he got caught this COVID-19. The physicians give the moxifloxacin, that's a antibiotic, and I saw some other antiviral drug, and they give some steroid, but nothing really works. The fever increases from 38.8 to 39.8, and the patient start to have coughing, shortness, and the desaturation. The SpO2 reaches the 90%, so it's very dangerous situation. So then he came to me, and he wanted me to do some consultation remotely. So I saw his CT scan. You can see clearly you can some kind of lesion and the bilateral infiltrate around this all his lung. So it looked like he is suffering from the acute lung injury. So that's what I mentioned. It's already fall into the second week. So the patient may have the early acute lung injury stage. So what I give is only that the ginseng formula. Patient after only 1 dose of ginseng formula, and the patient's fever again, he recovered to the baseline after I think 2 days. And so he never go to the hospital. He just stay at home taking the medication I recommended, and stop all this Western medicine. He stopped all the IV drugs. So then he recovered very quickly. So there's another patient. So he's also the 52 male. He had diabetes. He had OSAS. He had obstructive sleep apnea, and he got also the antibiotics, steroids, and fever increased from 37.8 to 39.5 Celsius, and he started to have cough, shortness breath, and the respiratory rate reached the 32. So that means the patient's already, and his saturation is very low. What I suggest him is don't move the patients. I told that the physicians, the bedside physicians, I asked them, you must reduce the oxygen consumption for this patient, because he had he obviously had a acute lung injury, and he may need some kind of intubation and other things. But let's first don't do the intubation. Let's first try the high flow oxygen support. That's what I give to him. So here, so we gave him the 65% of oxygen support, and but his you can see here his oxygen saturation is only 81. So it's very severe patients, as you know. So even without the oxygen support, our SpO2 should be more than 97%. So this patient had a very, very bad situation at that time. And he had very strong cough and dyspnea and, fever. But after I gave the ginseng formula, the patients start to sweating and the fever gone, but start to develop cough. The cough is very severe, and he cannot speak to me I called him, and he even could not say us one sentence. And he had some feeling of, very strong feeling of cough, and cough. How do you say cough? He said some kind of cough pressure. So after the coughing, he had a very strong of feeling of dyspnea. So that's I asked him to do the transdermal therapy. So basically, it's like a moxibustion, like a cupping, like acupuncture. So that's how I treat him. So here, so we give this kind of device, and we put some kind of Chinese herb, and put some pressure here, and put some the temperature here, and make the make the Chinese medicine become steam. So that's go into his body. Then after several treatment, and the patients, you can see SpO2 go back to normal, go back to 97. So at the oxygen support is about 43 FiO2. So here you can see after 1 week he was discharged from to home. So I successfully treated him only with Chinese medicine and oxygen support. And I don't ask them. I ask them don't give any medication other than that. So stop all the Western medicine, stop all the IV drugs, because this will only cause more complicated issues. So you can see even at his discharge, you can see the CT scan. He clearly showed bilateral infiltrate. It's very very severe infiltrate. If you can read this CT image, you must acknowledge that the patients had very, very severe AS. So with this kind of ARDS, how we can treat them without any ventilator, without any Western medicine? We only give oxygen, and we only give the Chinese medicine plus, some kind of transdermal therapy, and the patients can recover. So I think with this method, we treated a lot of patients. Certainly, we want to do some as early as possible. If we give the ginseng formula in the first week or the first 2 days, the patients will have no any other complications. They will not develop a ocular injury, and we don't need even do the transdermal therapy. But once they really develop the ocular injury, then we must treat them aggressively. So here, after 1 month treatment, after discharge, so after discharge, I still give them, the ginseng formula and some kind of Huangqi and other, boosting his energy, and also some kind of, the promote blood circulation, some kind of herb to help him. Also, this transdermal therapy continuously treated. So you can see the more lung lesions was absorbed. So they all disappeared, and the patient had very very good outcome. And he can go back to the work. He's a businessman, and he can do business right now. So he said he is fully recovered after right now. I think after 2 months right now. So that's a 2 cases. But even after I think this is another patient. He is 57 years old, and he was on the non-invasive mechanical ventilation, and he had some kind of remaining low fever, persistent low-grade fever, and coughing, shortness breath. So that's how this CT scan showed. Uh, and what we did is we give some kind of ginseng formula, and we also ask them to do some kind of like qigong, or the tai chi, to do some rehabilitation to help him to recover from the late stage ARDS. So in a word, so how that happens to the patient? What happens really to the patients? Actually, like what I mentioned in the past several slides. So initially, the new virus, they want to jump from the different animals. They want to they want to find a human as a new host, but human usually don't accept the new virus come to us. So then the fight between virus and human is quite strong. So that's how the viral response phase. So here, the virus came here, but the viral, you know, the slowly become smaller and smaller. However, the host inflammatory response is become stronger and stronger. So that's why we develop the high fever. Maybe initially very low, mild fever, low grade fever, and step by step. And then the second week we start to have very very high fever. So if we cannot control the fever, then we will have the cytokine storm. Then we develop ARDS. So that's how this. I love this picture a lot because this is really the whole map of the COVID-19. How that how we think about this disease, how we think about the new virus and the human response. And let's discuss about the gene. So the ginseng, how the ginseng really works. The ginseng has the function of defeat the virus. They can kill some virus, but that's not only the ginseng functions mechanism. Another very important function is they regulate our immune system to adapt this new virus. So this is we call that they can control our cytokine storm. So basically, they make our human body response to this new virus in a good response. So not too mild and not too strong. So just moderate. So keep in the middle. So that's how the ginseng help us. That's why I want to use ginseng in this the formula. So that's a key mechanism of immunoregulation. So sometimes the people always want to say, they always want to argue with me. They'll say, this is the how they call that, this is a pandemic, this is a Wenbing, and then this is the heart disease. You cannot use ginseng. But I said, as you know, most patients die from this COVID-19. They are the qi deficiency patients. So if we boost the qi, if we give the ginseng early, then the patients will have no problem, and then they will not die from disease. Then will make this, the COVID-19 only like influenza. So that's how we want really to work. So that's what we did. We observed quite a cases across all over the world in different countries. Certainly in Wuhan we had most cases. We had we published quite a lot of paper regarding how we use genes formula to treat the COVID-19. So and these are only one case died because he, I don't know why, he may be wrong of the oxygen supported. And some patients, one in London, he got intubated because I'm not on bad side of her. uh, I don't know what happens to her, but he survived. She survived. She's with over uh, 200. So he's very obese, I think. His BMI is over 35. So I'm very concerned her situation. So I highly recommend her to go to the emergency room to get intubation as early as possible. Otherwise, you will have high chance to die. That's what my suggestion for her. So usually when we treat the patients with this formula, what happens to the patients? Fever usually gone within 1 or 2 doses, and if the fever did not last too long, then he may not even have cough. But here in Saudi Arabia, I did see some patients. For example, they have 1 week fever, and that's even I use this ginseng formula. The patient's fever gone, but he still have some kind of remaining cough symptoms. So then I use this transdermal therapy to give some continuous support treatment. So and then they usually can get full recovery within 1 or 2 treatment. So the traditional approach of epidemic prevention, we in the old times we don't have the vaccination. So according to Chinese epidemic history, more than 300 epidemics occurred over the 2,000 years since Western Han Dynasty, often a major epidemic in every 10 years, and major epidemic in every 3 years, so quite a lot. And we use herb medicine, we use the purifying air. We try to use some wormwood, or we try to use a quarantine also to stop to break this the transmission chain. So how we use, but the first one, herb medicine, is very useful. uh, and, regarding this COVID-19, we think it's cold and dampness. Even in Saudi Arabia, here, I saw the patients. It's very hot outside, but in the inside the human body, it's still the cold and dampness. So the patients who get COVID-19, they had the same mechanism, and they should be treated the same, uh, exact same. But regarding the young patients and who don't have any conditions, uh, these patients, I think they can recover on their own. You can give any medication, it can work on them. But for the only for those patients who have the very severe and very vulnerable situations, those patients we really need to give the ginseng to regulate their immune response. Like President Trump, he also want to take the hydroquine, that kind of drug. That medicine is not used for the, actually it cannot kill the virus. It's only used for the regulating human immune response. Uh, so this, I think the mechanism is similar to the ginseng. And regarding the history of ginseng formula, it's I already mentioned that. So in actually in in Ming Dynasty, we use this medication and treat a lot of patients who suffered from the pandemic influenza. So the different formula used for different disease, like some other medications. It's not only it's not for the pandemic influenza, because you here. So the patients who suffer from the COVID-19, they usually don't have bleeding problem, not like the Black Death, that's a bleeding problem. Like the Ebola, that's bleeding problem. They usually die from the DIC, but here they usually die from the acute lung injury. So this is only two stage. One is the fever, one is the acute lung injury. So that's the two stage of the disease. So not like we call that fourth stage. So that's the fever and the dyspnea, and then they start to have the the DIC problems. That's how the Black Death or some other bleeding transmission disease. That's different story. But regarding the 人参败毒, this ginseng formula, historically we use that to treat this kind of pandemic. Only two stage. We use that in the fever stage. Then we can prevent the development of acute lung injury. So that's in Song Dynasty we already mentioned this formula, and it's a best formula for treating epidemic disease in Chinese history. Here, how we think this, the the how we treat this using the ginseng for to treat this the pandemic. We think that pandemic is like a tiger. Tiger, how the tiger can kill the people because they had the pulse. So then we use this drug to remove the teeth and remove the pulse from the tiger, and the tiger, although he can still, uh, to try to kill you, but actually he cannot kill you. So that's why we use this ginseng. This kind of description is very, very interesting. And in China we have this kind of old saying discusses ginseng formula. So actually, you're not regarding the how the treatment can happens in China. We also suggest so all the vulnerable populations they should take this ginseng formula as soon as they have some kind of symptoms, so they can avoid ending up in the acute lung injury stage. So another very interesting story why we use ginseng, it's according to my another idea. Because in February, when I first look at the patients, I noticed that most of the patients in Wuhan they are the uh, who develop very severe situation, who develop acute lung injury. They are the older male adults. So they are men, and they usually have some kind of obese problem. At that time, I'm thinking maybe that's relevant to the lower testosterone levels, and this may worse their condition because the like the sexual the hormone this testosterone level can help you to regulate your immune system. This can control the cytokine storm. So that's how the the testosterone level really works. So recently, I didn't find several studies talking about this. There's a study from Germany, and they found that the first 45 COVID-19 patients admitted to the ICU of University Medical Center, and they found out the why men may be more vulnerable than women because they have lower the testosterone levels. So that may be relevant to their the worse situation. And there are more and more publications you can find from the plant. And actually, the ginseng just has the function can help us to supplement testosterone levels. I think every practitioner of Chinese medicine they all know that. So this is very helpful for our energy booster. So how to survive COVID-19? I want to use this picture uh, to summarize some basic membrane, alveolar membrane mechanism. So here you can see the left part. This is a normal alveolars. You can see this. You have macrophage, alveolar macrophage. They help you to defeat this virus, and they can a lot of the polluted air or pollutant go into alveolar, and then this macrophage can help you to sweep them out. But when the patients have this, the new virus coming in, and this SARS-CoV-2, when they go into the human alveolar level, then they will have the direct and the indirect lung injury. So the direct, they just broke the membrane of the alveolar. Indirect, because they stimulate the cytokine storm, and they flooding the membrane, flooding all the alveolar membrane. Then the oxygen could not go through the alveolar to the blood. So then the human have the desaturation, start to have this very strong feeling of the dyspnea. So that's a basic mechanism of this disease. So how to survive from this COVID-19? So we use Chinese medicine to defeat the fever, to reduce the fever and to reduce the cytokine storm. After fever gone, and then we use some transdermal therapy. So that's I summarize this basic weapons, for TCM practitioners. So we use the ginseng formula from the different, point. You can see this ginseng, how the ginseng works. Ginseng stimulate is this red arrow, and the ginseng inhibition. So this is another format of this symbol. You can see that. So you can see how ginseng really works. The ginseng really help us boost our immune system, and to help us to kill the virus, and also at the same time they regulate our inflammatory response and avoid cytokine storm. So that's how ginseng really help us. So we really need to use ginseng formula as a major formula to treat the most vulnerable population. But I don't want to talk too much about the mild population, mild symptom or asymptomatic patients. That's I don't care because they can recover even without any medication. You don't need to give them any medication to them. After 1 week, they will have no symptoms. But for the vulnerable population, they high chance to die. Then we must use this kind of medication to treat them. So here is another picture of another treatment is what I use is a transdermal therapy. Basically, you can see it's like cupping, and you have some kind of moxibustion. You put some points. It's like acupuncture point. You shoot on the back area. After treatment, the herb can be absorbed by the skin, and then the drug can go into the human body. The exact mechanism I'm investigating right now. So here is I did quite a lot of research on this treatment. That's what I use for the pulmonary alveolar proteinosis. This is a very rare lung disease. I successfully treated the patients after 1 year with this treatment. You can see previously bilateral lung infiltrate, and after 1 year treatment, the patient's lung become clear. So, and we believe that this kind of transdermal therapy really can boost our macrophage function and can recover our macrophage function to the normal. So that's how we think this, and the exact same when we use this transdermal therapy for this new COVID-19 patients, and we do see the same result, and we succeeded on many patients too. So how I want to summarize. I think time is yeah. So I want to summarize with 4 points I want to share. So how to survive COVID-19? Because regarding the mild patients, we don't care, and the only patients we want to care is the very severe population. So we need to first identify who is at high risk population, and we need to prevent the development of injury, and we need to early use of ginseng for vulnerable population. And after that, we can use the transdermal therapy, we can use acupuncture, we can use a moxibustion to cure injured alveolar. So help them to stop the coughing, stop the cough, dyspnea. Certainly, you need some backup. You need intubation backup for critically ill patients. You need oxygen support. So what you need to figure out who is the most dangerous situation, and you need to put them in the ICU for the respiratory support. I think this is my last slides. I would like to take any question from the audience. Thank you for all your attention. Thank you. Any questions?
Very much, Dr. Li. We're going to get Teresa and Dr. Wang on the screen too. We do have a lot of questions for you, so I hope you're okay to hang in there for a few more minutes with us.
Yeah, no problem. I would like to.
Well, thank you. That was an amazing lecture, and I know that everybody that's here has really appreciated this information. So we're just going to get Teresa on here, and while we wait for Teresa to get on, we had one question in the chat from somebody who couldn't get into the questions tab. And this was just on the last slide. Were you talking about iontophoresis? Iontophoresis?
What questions? I don't.
Can you clarify your question in the chat? All right. So Kara's going to clarify her question, and while we do that, Teresa is actually going to start and she goes through the questions with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Li. I'm seeing quite a few questions around the transdermal treatment. And you've already explained further, but there are some specific ones. So Ellen Teeter is asking, what herbs are used in transdermal therapy?
Oh, that's how we say that. That's I don't know how to say in English. But the major medication we use is a 马钱子.
Okay. 马钱子,
How
a
do you
single
say
herb.
it? Yeah, 马钱子 I think is usually used to kill the rats. I don't know how to kill the rats. You know, when we use this herb to when the rats take this herb, then they usually die. So I don't know how to say in English, but I'm trying to figure out what's this 马钱子.
Yes, I'll find it and share a little bit later. It's a single herb, 马钱子. Also, yeah. Ellen is asking, can it be used on the chest or the back, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I usually use it on the back, but also you can use on the chest, no problem. You know, it depends on it's woman or man. So anywhere, you know, or in the back even. So we use but regarding the patients, regarding COVID-19 patients, we need specifically on the best working area is the back.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna pipe in for 1 second, Dr. Lee. We're having trouble hearing you again. Mind speaking into the microphone a little bit louder. And I did get some clarification.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now it's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got clarification on that question. So the question was applying herbs topically and using heat or a current to bring them into the body, often used for kidney failure. Is that what you were talking about?
Kidney failure, not kidney failure. It's for the lung injury.
Okay, but you're talking about topical application of the herbs.
Yes.
Okay.
Not for the topical of the herbs. Actually, how we can explain this? Because usually let me see here. I have machines. It's just too short here. I have the machine here, but I cannot move that machine. I have the machine in my room, but so it's like it's not like the topic use. It's usually like a steam. You know, we generate the steam. You know, you need to put the herb into the alcohol. You know alcohol. You know, you need to make the, how do you say? After you're heating about 70 Celsius, and then the drug becomes the steam. The steam then go into the body.
Perfect. All right. Sorry, Teresa.
It's great.
It's not topic use. It's not topic use. No, I just want to clarify this. It's not like something put on your skin that you absorb that. No, it's not like that. It's more like using the steam. Pressure. Put steam into your body.
Great, thank you. And for everyone else's knowledge, I'm going to read the questions that have the most upvotes. So I'll go through those and then go from oldest to newest. So at the top of that list right now is a question from Lynn, who is asking, in regards to the preventative formulas, what is the recommended schedule for intake? Do you take a full dose forever, or 3 weeks on, 1 week off? What do you recommend?
Or for but first you need to figure out the patients, how, what kind of their, how do you say, syndrome patterns. Usually we do that, half dose. The dose you don't need to be too high. Half dose for about, once a day for 1 week. That's how we use that. Like ginseng formula for the preventing stage, and we can use. Is that clear to you?
Yes, I think it's clear to me. Lynn, if you would like any follow-up, please note in there.
Yeah. So, because sometimes, what kind of formula did she ask? What formula we use for the prevention of the COVID-19?
She asked preventative formulas, but there's also Diane has a related question. She is asking specifically about the Renshen Baidu San. And she's specifically thinking about it be used to prevent catching the virus for ICU staff and other frontline workers.
Yes, very, very helpful. That's how we use that in China too. So we ask all the ICU staff and also ask the physicians. Even for me, I take every day half dose, to prevent the possible infection. So to regulate my own immune response, and even I took the ginseng. I use the ginseng every day. Here, so here is what I use. So here is you can see the ginseng. Can you see it from the screen?
Yes.
That's I use every day. But one of these, every day. I boil the soup to drink as a water.
Great. There's one other question. My screen is loading again now. Someone is asking about the use of curcumin.
Curcumin, okay,
curcumin. Mickey is asking, do you suggest ginseng as prophylaxis? And if so, for how long? Would you avoid curcumin?
Curcumin, you mean curcumin, right? Curcumin?
That's right.
Oh, curcumin, because I really don't know the curcumin, but I personally think the ginseng is more useful. Curcumin, I did the research on that. We used that, try to figure out how the curcumin could prevent the acute lung injury, but did not get the good results. Historically, in Chinese pandemic history, we did not see any book recommended that. So that's I did not use quite a lot, but it may be helpful because curcumin is also used a lot in India. Not sure any evidence for that, but the ginseng we do have a lot of evidence for that. So that's the reason I highly recommend ginseng here.
Okay, great. We also have a question from Kamal about using 不中益鸡汤 and 血府猪鱼汤 in the recovery phase.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. The 不中益气, so initially, so in the first stage, once your patient have fever, you should not use the huangqi because that's not good. The huangqi could make your immune response to virus even stronger. So that means can trigger the cytokine storm. So that's the reason in the first week, like what I mentioned, in the first week window of the COVID-19 should avoid use huangqi. But in the late stage, after you already developed acute lung injury, or after you are the recovery phase, then you should use huangqi, like use huangqi, ginseng, and some other the 不中益气, some drug and. But the most importantly, I think is you need to practice. You need to do more exercise. You need to do pulmonary rehabilitation. That's you need to do Tai Chi. You need to do Qigong. That's what I highly recommend for the patients. Not only rely on the drug.
Great. We also have a question from Melvin about the influenza virus subtypes and how they die out.
Yeah, that's a very, very challenging questions. The influenza subtypes, how they died out. But what I think, sometimes they cannot die out. They don't appear, especially like this COVID-19. We are not optimistically thinking this will disappear in the winter or in the summer. This probably will be with human body all the time, and this will eventually become a seasonal influenza, like the H1N1, like the other type of the seasonal influenza, unless we develop some kind of vaccination and we can help the vulnerable population. We can protect them. And for the healthy people, it doesn't matter. COVID-19 is just like influenza, very, very gentle and very mild. It's not like Ebola, not like SARS. So it's totally different type of the virus. So do not be in panic. So, but this certainly, I don't believe this would die out quickly.
Okay, thank you. Diane Carter asks, do you add blood movers to those having issues with hypercoagulation of blood?
This is also very interesting questions. So regarding the blood coagulation problem, we did see some reports actually. New England Journal, my colleague reported that there's some patients they may have some clot issues, but that's a different story. That's because patients already have acute lung injury, already have the ARDS, and they were on the ventilator for many days. These patients certainly you need anticoagulant. In ICU we give the anticoagulant for everyone, heparin for everyone, but for the patients initially, I don't think that's necessary. The major thing we just want to use this kind of Jensen formula recommended. We want to boost qi, and we want to expel the virus. We want to make people sweat and don't make the fever rebound. That's a major goal. And the coagulant is another issue.
Okay, great. Kevin asks, without a transdermal machine, is there another way to deliver the herb to get it to absorb in the body?
Transdermal machine. This machine is actually it's approved by FDA in the United States market, so you can find out. But I don't know where you can find. But actually, it's already approved in FDA list, so you can find it. But without this one, you can still use some like the major thing is using heating mechanism. You put some kind of patch and put on the human body, and using some like moxibustion, using cupping. This will all helpful. This will all be helpful. So because this coughing is totally different from asthma, totally different from COPD. It's not a bronchial problem, bronchi, restriction. That's different story. But this one is alveolar damage. So this coughing comes from alveolar level. So this cannot be cured. This only can be cured by some kind of heating, to help the flooding, by heating the human body, and then the flooding may become less and less. And so that's a basic mechanism. So that's why I use transdermal therapy.
Okay, great. Let's see. There is just one follow-up question regarding the ginseng formula. You mentioned taking it at half dose. For how long do you recommend taking it?
Oh, yeah. But, it depends on the, if you work in ICU. For me, like, I work in the hospital, I took it all the time when I worked. So, for example, I took that every day, every morning, before I go into the ward, I must take the medication. But for the regular person, if they don't go outside quite a lot, if they don't touch the patients, if they don't, if they are, have low chance to meet this COVID-19 patients, then I suggest them, to do 1 day interval. So you don't need to take one daily based, maybe 1 day and another day. So, and maybe after 1 or 2 weeks, I think that's good enough.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Kamal has another question about vaccine development using mRNA technology and whether there's any research related to jade windscreen, Yuping Fengshan, and mRNA, acting nRNA.
I'm not the expert at that part, but I really don't know the definite answer for that. But I still think the vaccination is quite far, and also the easy mutation for this SARS-CoV-2 make it very difficult to develop, the vaccination. And also, as you know, like HIV, like other, hepatitis C, we still did not good, vaccination for that. So the same thing here. So.
Okay. Let's see. Michelle has a question. You mentioned that men are more vulnerable because of the low testosterone, and she is asking, does that apply to women going through menopause?
The testosterone level in women, maybe the woman who had menopause, they may be at a risk, certainly, but compared to the patient's health period. So I think the woman, the most vulnerable population is still the obese. The obese is the biggest problem. The BMI greater than 30, women or men, you are all at very high risk. That's the overweight is more. I think how do I say, it's more obvious problem, more risk for that, but not regarding the menopause. Menopause, maybe it's not as important as as men. I don't know. Definite answer for women, because we don't measure the woman's testosterone level yet.
Okay. Nathan is asking for clarification related to the herb. It's maqixian, not manjinzi. Is that right?
No, it's maqianzi, not
Majinzi. Oh, okay, my mistake.
Yeah, maqianzi. Let me see what's maqianzi. Yeah, yes. Let me see maqianzi. I'm not sure if in states we do have this herb, because it is like poison, like we call it seed of nut. I will put on the here. I will put here. I'll put on the questions here. Oh, here. Oh, chat. Oh, I didn't see chat here, right? Chat or questions. I can put on chat questions here. Oh, chat. Oh, I see chat. Here. Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Lee, we actually didn't hear what you just said.
Yeah, here. Can you see that? Can you see?
Yes.
I did not. I don't say that, but I put it. I type.
Oh, yes.
Do you see this?
Seed of Nux vomica, poison
seed
nut.
of Nux vomica, poison nut, 马金子, 马钱子.
I see.
Here.
My mistake.
Yeah. Here. You see? Yes. Not manjingzi. No. It's different. This is this is you cannot use it internally.
I see.
You cannot eat that. It can be only used outside.
Okay.
You cannot eat this. It's very dangerous. It's they had a lot of poison for the if you eat it, that's dangerous. So highly toxic. Yes, highly toxic. You can only outside human body.
Okay. We also have a question from Vivian regarding immune boosting vitamin supplements for healthy people. Do you recommend it for prevention?
Because regarding the prevention, I don't think we usually no one had immunity for this SARS-CoV-19. So everyone, if you really touch this virus, you will get it for sure. Only after vaccination can be used, maybe to prevent us. Otherwise, what we can do is only we try to sleep well, eat well. That's exercise well. That's to make our immune response more appropriate to this new virus. Once we really touch this new virus, don't make us our whole immune system make us in a pandemic panic situation. Then the people start to have some kind of cytokine storm. Then that will kill you. not only the virus will never kill you. This virus is very gentle, actually. It's totally different from the Ebola, totally different from the MERS. So it's a gentle virus. I call this virus as a gentle.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We have a question from Michelle asking about contraindication for 人参白毒散 for cancer patients.
For cancer patients?
Mm-hmm. Are there any problem with cancer patients taking the 人参白毒散 formula?
Oh, this formula is not too much contradiction. Mm-hmm. So it's not like other medication like ma huang, like xixin. You really need to be careful. But the 人参白毒 is a totally different story. There's no obvious contradiction. I think the only thing after you eat this drug, you eat this formula is you may feel some kind of mouth dry. You may have more sweating than usual. That's all. So you don't have any other reactions.
Okay, thank you. There are two clarification questions. Ellen is asking about your chart in which 9 out of 35 male patients died and 3 out of 10 female patients died. Is the rate higher for women or for men? Can you clarify?
Oh, no, I did not mention that. No, I think this way is men, the mortality in men is much higher than women. It's 2.6 times more than women. The mortality rate in men is much higher than women. So if you are a woman, actually you have low chance to die. But if you are a man, you have high chance to die. So that's answer. Okay.
Thank you. We also have a clarification question from Lloyd in regards to the blood oxygen level. You mentioned 95% as a critical level. Is that correct? Or are you referring to another measure of oxygen? He's mentioning it as he sees healthy patients with 90 to 97 O2 levels.
19 to 97?
Mm-hmm.
19? No. This is because I'm not sure here who is the audience, but usually in hospital, with aggressively monitor the 93 is the borderline. So if you are lower than 93, we definitely need to give a lot of measures to help you to keep your the oxygen level higher. But for the population you ask, maybe they have some COPD problem, they may have interstitial lung disease. That is another story. But most healthy people, the normal value should be above 95%. If you are less than 95, that means you are in a severe situation, especially you are originally 97 and suddenly you desaturated to 94. That's the highly indication you are developing acute lung injury. You need to refer patients to the emergency room, or you do some kind of other stuff to make sure the patient is safe. That's what my suggestions.
Oh, and I see a message from Diane with clarification. O2 saturation does not equal O2 in the blood. So I think that's perhaps the difference or the reason for that question.
So what I mean is SpO2. SpO2 measure is using a pulse oximeter to measure the pulse oximeter is different from the blood gas analysis. ABG test is totally different, So I'm not talking about the ABG test. Blood gas test is a different story. But regarding the pulse oximeter, that measure, that measurement, what I mentioned.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Another question from Melvin asking about cyanide similarities and hypoxia factors in post-mortem findings. Are you seeing any?
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Cyanide, he is asking, are you seeing cyanide similarities and hypoxia factors in post-mortem findings?
Post-mortem?
Post-mortem, so in the deceased.
Disease. Oh, okay. Oh, because I did not see such findings, but I'm not sure. I understand the questions. Can I see the questions? Can you type in that in English so I can
Yep,
read
I'll put it in. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Yeah, chat. Okay, I will look at the chat.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know, we have about a 9 minute, about 9 minutes till we have to end.
Multiple findings. Oh, I did not see this. Maybe different. Yeah, this question I will try to figure out, and then I will reply to you in email, maybe.
Perfect. And then we'll share that on our blog along with the recording of the webinar.
Yes. Maybe that's because I don't think this is similar to the.
All right, with just about 8 minutes left to go, Jeff, should we cut it off there or should we continue?
I'll leave it up to Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, would you like to answer a few more questions? Would you rather be done for the day?
Oh yeah, I can answer more questions. No problem.
All right, why don't we do a couple? Why don't we do a couple more?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so a question from Michelle. If you slow the speed of transmission and the vaccine is not a cure-all for everyone, won't that delay the 70% herd immunity required for immunity? If so, by how much?
Yeah, that's a very challenging question. Right now, why we want to delay the transmission speed, because right now it's the mortality is so high because the human still did not find a good solution for the disease treatment, especially in States and in China too. So a lot of physicians, they only use Western medicine treatment. So that makes it very tough to treat a very difficult case. And then the best way is to lower the peak, to keep this transmission speed a little bit slower and waiting for the new vaccination come out to the market. Because nobody really want to do the herd immunity, because that will be much suffering. We will you see already here in I'm not sure how many patients died in United States. I think it's more than 80,000 already, right? So it's quite painful. So that's the reason we want to lower the peak. We want to keep the transmission speed a little bit slow. But this you always need to keep in the middle. So it's a dilemma. You need to keep the economy open. You need to keep the business, and you cannot control the speed very well. So we will see what happens. But we want to use the Chinese medicine. We want to, what I'm talking today will be very helpful for the practitioners to help the patients, to protect the patients and to not fall into the cliff, not into the situation of acute lung injury.
Thank you. Another question from Keith. He said that you mentioned to not move the patient if the O2 saturation is low. He's asking if there's evidence that a prone position helps to raise O2 levels.
Yes, it's a very good question. So we did that. We use the prone position. It's really helpful, especially for the overweight patients, because we flip over the patients, and even with only oxygen support, it's already helpful. But that's already too late. I really don't want the patients developing any acute lung injury. We want to keep them, don't not develop acute lung injury. But once they develop, then you must flip over the patients and you do the prone position, oxygen support. You use non-invasive mechanical ventilation or invasive mechanical ventilation. We must put patients flip. That's most useful for the obese patients.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's our experience. But there are a lot of patients on that too.
Okay. I have a question about Qi deficient overweight patients from Vivian. She's asking if they should take Renshen for prevention even before the start of any symptoms.
Even they don't have any symptom, they take the Jinshenbaidu. If they are overweight, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Overweight and Qi deficient.
Qi deficiency. For the prevention part, I'm still thinking you can use Renshenbaidu or Yupingfeng. Yupingfeng, you already know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but once you have fever, you certainly need to take the Renshenbaidu as soon as possible for these patients. But for their the stable stage, like the normal stage, then just do exercise and they can just have a good sleep. That's good enough. I'm not sure if they need to take any medication because I don't have any evidence showing that this really helps. The only helps, what I did in my research is only when they have symptoms, they take this drug, they will recover very quickly. That's what I saw.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
How about one more question?
I was just going to say, I think we've gotten through most of our questions. I'm going through the list now.
Okay.
So here is there's one. Camilo is the ginseng formula also applicable to the intermediate stage of skin response and the systemic inflammation? So how about I explain this answer? Okay.
Please.
So this is from Camilo Sanchez. So ginseng formula certainly applicable to the intermediate stage. So once the patient, if the patient have fever, then can certainly use this formula. If the patient don't have fever, they only have dyspnea, then it may not be useful. So only the we call that the disease is still on the surface. You understand what I mean? So the disease is on the surface. So that means the patient still have some kind of fever. Then we can use this ginseng formula. If the disease already go inside, so the patient already fully developed acute lung injury or fully developed ARDS, then it may not be useful.
Right.
So that's the reason we want to use it as early as possible to cut the disease go into the development of acute lung injury. So very important part. So everyone here need to remember that what we need to do is to prevent acute lung injury.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. This was really an amazing webinar. Thank you to Treasurer of the East. Thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Dr. Wang. This was really amazing. Thank you to everyone who joined us today this afternoon. I don't know where you are, but it's a really beautiful day here. So, being inside is probably not the best thing for everyone. So hopefully you can get outside, get some fresh air. And we hope to see you guys next time. We're actually offering another webinar this evening at 7:30 p.m. So check your inbox for the registration, and we'll hope to see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Lee.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Wang.